Welcome to the Orange Cactus Coffee Podcast with Mike Kincaid and Jake Goebel. Join them as they experience specialty coffee and document their journey. These friends explore roasts and roasting methods, brewing equipment and techniques, and review the cafes they visit along the way.
Thanks, Brioni, and thank you for joining us for episode 119 of the Orange Cactus Coffee Podcast. Mike and I recount some failed attempts at humor using obscure movie quotes. It didn't work out for either of us. It normally doesn't work out for anyone, but that's kind of beside the point. We talk about a new product that we're launching, the Chain Fruit, a naturally processed coffee. We take a look at direct trade and also offer a brew tip of the week. I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Welcome to the Orange Cactus Coffee Podcast. I am Jake Goebel, and with me is Mike Kincaid, my partner in coffee crime. And you have stumbled upon a podcast dedicated to coffee, dedicated to better coffee at home, at the cafe, around the world. Better coffee, period. For you to have a better coffee experience, for you to receive that delightedness. It reminds me of a quote that I slung out there. It was today, but I scheduled it in, Smarter Queue, which is kind of neither here nor there. But Orange Cactus Coffee, they got these little image quotes, these quote graphics. There we go. Maybe we should just start over.
Yeah,
got these quote graphics, and it says, if you don't drink coffee, you should think about 2 to 4 cups a day. It can make you more alert, happier, and more productive. It might even make you live longer. It's a quote by Scott Adams. And I always am a little suspicious of the people selling the thing, telling you should use it or drink it, but that's, lo and behold, that's where we ended up. The coffee seller telling you to drink coffee because it's good for you and it's going to make your life better.
Yes.
But we don't just tell you to drink our coffee. You know what I mean? If there's a great deal out there in coffee, then we're going to tell you about it. Mm. For example, a couple weeks ago, we were on our Swell kick. Swell did a Facebook marketing push that caught our attention. We called them out on some ads and puffery, bad marketing, and they fixed that, it would appear. Let me tell you what they did not fix, though. The sample bags that show up, other folks have reached out to me and said it showed up a little skunky. Which was kind of a shame, but I think it's just an evidence. We don't just promote our own coffee. We promote great coffee, period. We're here about you having a great coffee experience, not for us to sell more coffee. But I'm going to throw the name out there. Marco, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw your name out there. But Marco took us up. He's not the only one, but there's quite a few people that took us up on the Swell because it was $10, sampler. You get a nice box. Christmas in the mail, all thumbs up. Everybody agrees. Yeah. Christmas in the mail.
Mug,
you get a mug,
sample.
You get the sample,
cool.
And the samples showed up a little old and not very fresh. That was the consensus that folks emailed me back and said, hey, that was our experience as well. Yeah, that the coffee was not as fresh as it should be or could be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem. I mean, Swell, you got to fix that because if you got a smoking hot deal on the sample shows up, but the coffee's not good, people ain't coming back, bro. People ain't going to come back. They're not going to be like, well, I'm going to give them a chance. Maybe the sample was bad, but the regular bag is going to be fresh roasted and sent out.
It'll be better.
But it's people. I don't think people do that.
That's first impression. I think to your point, right? Yeah. There's. Well, not your point, but to what
a point
consistently discuss is the packaging can get you in the door.
That's it.
But it can't keep you.
It cannot. It cannot.
It does always come down to the coffee, to the experience with the product.
Yes.
Yeah, and that has to, you want the packaging to not fail the experience. Right? It should accentuate it. It should complement it. It should say, I'm as good as I look.
But on the other hand, it also helps build the brand.
Yeah. Well, that's what gets people to look at you, get you
if
attention.
You're buying Converse, if you're a Converse guy.
Chuck Taylors.
You go out and buy Yukons, but they hurt your feet.
I'm wearing them anyway.
You're wearing them anyways because you big digging the brand. And then
tissues in there, whatever, Band-Aids.
After, I don't know, a year of wearing these shoes, like intermittently that hurt my feet, I was like, you know what, I'm done with them.
I'm done.
And so I passed them on to my son, who's feet are going to be bigger than mine very soon. But he's like, oh, these fit perfect. So now he's wearing them. They were just
Maybe
a little small for me.
size.
I just had the wrong size. I bought them on sale, and they were just kind of the wrong size.
Fault.
Well, it is Chuck's fault because this.
Because they run small?
Because they run small. But the different shoes have different sizes. You know what I mean? It's like if you get the regular low top lace up, and then you get like the high top that look more like a sneaker, you can't get the same size. Yeah. No, exactly. Gotcha. That part is Chuck's fault. The rest of it is my fault.
There's no consistency between the cut, the style.
Yeah, exactly. And the size.
Yeah.
That's the only problem.
Yeah, two different factories.
So I just get the Chuck Taylors, the flat, the flat soled ones. Those ones are always good.
Those work.
Those ones are always good. So the problem was with me because I try to get fancy. I try to get fancy with a sale item. Don't be getting fancy with the sale item. Stick to what you know is good.
You also have to maintain your reserve when you purchase it from like a store like Ross.
Yeah.
Which is
Ross, fashion footwear, like, family footwear, Payless, whatever it is.
Well, just those stores that sell slightly off apparel, which is like Ross. There's something manufacturer defect. Some reason it was rejected.
How did it end up at Ross? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what Ross buys.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Everything is not everything, but a lot of the clothing will have...
the left shoe could be different size than the right shoe, even though they both say 9 or 10 on them?
Usually... it's like an inseam seam is slightly off.
Oh, I see.
And you'll never notice, like something.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you'll put on like a jacket and like, your right arm is 2 inches longer than your left. Like the defect is apparent.
Is noticeable.
And so they sell a lot of those shoes. And you can find great deals there for like $10. But yeah, if your right foot is going numb, but your left is good.
Then you got it at Ross.
You're paying the price for that discount.
Now, if there's a defect in the roasting of the coffee, that's a problem as well. Just to bring it back to coffee.
Bringing it back.
You should never mail out coffee that isn't fresh.
I don't think so, especially when you're trying to say, hey, look at us, give us a try. You're going to love what we got. Because we've been doing more samples.
How fresh does it need to be?
Right, we've been doing more samples.
We've been doing more samples. We get it to them with the samples, right? I'm not...
as fast as you can. I don't see why... See, here's...
Well, here's the thing. To send a little sample box 2 days is $7. To send it 3 days is $2.
Sure.
Which one do you want me to send it?
Whichever one you can afford.
Okay. I've been sending the $3 one. It gets it there in 3 days.
Okay, because that's as fast as we can afford.
That's as fast as we can afford.
That's my point.
You always get it within 5 days off roast.
Which I think is well within the window.
And it's kind of a surprise. Nobody orders the sample. Exactly. It just shows up. And people are like, I didn't order any of this orange cactus. Throw it over their shoulder into the trash.
What is this garbage?
What is this?
Well, I think that's perfectly fine because I would say 4 days off a roast is probably the sweet spot.
Oh, okay.
So
they're getting it 4 days off.
4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
you're
4
good.
or 5 days off roast.
But I think where the challenge lies with samples, when it's like us, it's easy because we roast and we make the samples and then we send them out.
Sling them.
And people don't know. So we don't have to wait for orders to come in.
Right.
Otherwise, you have to go back to our whole model. Are you roasting on demand? Right? We got 10 sample orders. Let's roast up a batch just for samples and send it out. Or are you just roasting extra on your roasting days, setting it aside for samples, and it sits there until you get sample orders?
I think that's what Swell's doing. And then how long does it sit there? It's sitting there for weeks. It's got to be.
My biggest thing...
it's got to be. Like the box is just packed up and it's just sitting there, and then they just grab it, throw a sticker on it, and sling it.
Where I personally struggle is when you provide an experience for one person, just happenstance, or however, they ordered at the right time. Perfect. Yeah. They're going to get it super fresh.
Yeah.
But then another majority of people don't order that day, or they wait a couple days.
Yeah.
And they're going to get coffee that's a week, 10 days old.
Subpar.
You're providing,
yeah. You're providing a different experience to different people.
I mean, in the financial industry, we'd call that disparate treatment.
Yeah.
You are...
I call that's just racism to me. It's just racism.
You're treating others differently, and maybe not intentionally, but you are. And you're not providing the same experience. Really, it's just going to hurt your business. Right. So you should care.
Right, until you get sued and somebody says, he did this to me because.
My sample is older than his. And it's because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, it really does lead us into our next failed attempts at humor segment here.
Yeah.
We've had the...
Yeah. You want to talk about yours? Is that what? Is this therapy sessions with Jake Goebel?
That's exactly what it is. So every once in a while, we get like posts on our page or comments on a post, and it's obvious somebody is trying to be funny, but they're not. Now, I don't delete them because I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, and you guys don't delete me right away.
Everybody.
Like you should have deleted me already today, but you haven't. And so thank you.
Everyone thinks they're funny.
So, except when you're not. Actually, I think I have a pretty good gauge of like, I shouldn't have said all that. So this last Saturday, we had a little party for the football team. It was the end of season party.
Yeah, the championship party.
The championship
Call it what
party.
it is.
Well,
End of season.
no, because it was the end of season party because the other groups were invited as well.
Yeah, but they were only partying because you were there.
They were only there to celebrate our victory? Okay, fair enough. Should I get the big trophy and put it in the shot? Or
you got a big trophy already?
You see it? There's the big trophy.
Oh.
Up top side
Yeah,
there.
I thought it would have been bigger.
Some people are never happy, never satisfied. So be it. Such is my life. So while we're there, we're talking about, we were invited, our family, to one of my players' birthday parties. And
I think that makes sense.
yeah, so there's a birthday party next Saturday or whatever, upcoming day, whenever it is.
In the future.
Yeah, in the future.
Future core.
And
Jeff.
myself and another mom are talking to this mom, and she says, well, what does he want? What does the young player want for his birthday?
Give us a hint.
And the other mom said, oh, whatever is fine.
$20.
And while I'm standing there, that's exactly, you throw $20 inside a card, happy
go.
birthday, there you go, done deal. But there's a movie that we used to watch all the time because I have a little girl, and it was
Sword in the Stone?
she used to love the Barbie movies, the Barbie cartoons, yeah. So there's Barbie and the Nutcracker, Barbie and Swan Lake,
Haven't seen
Barbie
these.
and whatever. Oh, okay. I've seen them many, many, many times.
Yeah, good.
So Barbie and the Nutcracker, the villain is the king, and he's a mouse king, right? The mouse king. And he has this scepter that allows him to turn things to stone.
Oh, okay.
He also has a little bat sidekick, his little servant, right? Is a bat. And he's getting ready to turn one of his minions into stone, and he's trying to figure out what he needs. And so he asks the bat,
Sure.
how are we doing on lawn ornaments? And the bat opens up the window and he looks out, and it's full of stone statues of minions that didn't please the king.
Yeah.
And he says, too many ornaments, not enough lawn. And so the king, during the scene, he's sitting there thinking to himself, he says, what do you get for the palace that has everything? So in the middle of this conversation, as I was reminded of the movie, and I said, what do you get for the boy that has everything? And she kind of looks at me and is like, he doesn't have everything. You know, like I shouldn't have, it was a failed attempt at humor.
Yeah.
I
You
failed.
judgmental.
Yes. So are you trying to say I spoil him? Are you trying to say that pamper? What are you trying to say exactly? So I think I'm going to apologize. When I show up, I'm going to apologize because I didn't realize it until the drive home. I'm like, oh, man.
You were making an obscure movie quote.
Obscure movie quotes are the worst.
I will throw mine out there then when you're done.
Yes.
Well,
I'm done.
It's pretty bad.
I'm going to apologize, and I'm going to explain that it was an obscure movie quote that I shouldn't have. I just should have left my mouth shut.
Yes. I have a very good example of that to continue this.
Okay.
All right.
Obscure movie
I'm
quotes.
still apologizing to this day for this.
Wow.
Yeah,
Still? Why not just one apology?
Because it involves the wife. So the story goes.
Oh, I see.
When we first got married, we were eating fast food in the car. I don't know what we were doing. I don't remember the details. But there was a moment when I look over and she had...
The anticipation is killing me.
She had a packet of something. I don't know if it was ketchup, something like ketchup, right? A little packet. And we were trying to be efficient. So she opens it and she puts like a little on her tongue, dips, or, squirts some in her mouth, eats whatever we're
Right,
eating.
because you don't want to squirt it out all over the place and make a mess.
Yeah. I look at her and I said, oh, I can just hear you getting fatter. And she, and I don't, for those of you that don't know, there's a scene in a movie called Tommy Boy where David Spade looks at Chris Farley because he's doing pretty much the exact same thing. Yeah. And he says, I can just hear you getting fatter. So I thought I was being hilarious because it was
very funny.
That exact same scene in my car.
Yes.
The wife's never seen the movie. She's never seen Tommy Boy.
At least she already said yes and went through the whole ceremony and got married.
That was a tough one. I'm still
living it down?
Every once in a while, I will do something similar, and she'll look at me and go, I can hear you getting fatter.
Has she seen the movie since or no?
I think we've seen clips, but
never the whole
I think
thing.
I played her that scene. I'm like, no, I'm not. Look, it's a real movie
it's
quote.
It's an obscure movie quote, but that's not that obscure. I mean,
didn't think
Tommy
so.
Boy is not as obscure as Barbie and the Nutcracker.
I thought anyone with, because we're about the same age, right?
Yeah.
Grew up with that movie.
Yeah.
Black Sheep, Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Ninja, all the Chris Farley stuff.
Yeah. And then you realize some people don't appreciate his humor. Some people think all of Chris Farley's humor is a failed attempt at humor.
Yeah, that's true. But this was David Spade's humor, directed at Chris Farley, and it was in regards to his weight, which is a sensitive subject. So I wouldn't recommend, don't.
Point taken.
Failed.
Yes. Failed.
Continually reminded of that failure.
Let me tell you what I am continually reminded of. In this, the brew tip of the week. Scott Rayo is right about many things that I fight him on.
I know.
But eventually it just happens.
I'm going to prove you wrong.
I'm going to prove you wrong. I don't need to excavate the slurry. So this is what happens. You are making a pour over.
Okay.
And you
minding your own business.
Minding your own business. You've pre-wet the filter. You've dumped that pre-wetting water out. You have added the coffee to the filter inside your brew device. Now you're going to add a little bit of water, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you let it bloom.
You want it to saturate evenly. Get ready.
Saturate evenly.
Yeah, get ready for the show to happen.
Thing. You're watching that. You're looking at it in the back of your mind. Scott's telling you, why don't you grab a spoon and excavate that slurry a little bit. Make sure there's no dry pockets in there. And you say, nah, Scott, I'm good.
I don't want to dirty a dish.
I am so good at my even water distribution into this bloom phase that I don't need you. I don't need you, Scott. I don't need to excavate because I got it like that. And then
what?
You decide, let me just see if there's any merit to what this guy is saying. And you grab a spoon and you give it a little stir. You give it a little dig. You get in there and you try to get to the bottom of where you think there might be a dry pocket because there's the little air bubble coming out.
Yeah.
And you find, in the midst of all your perfectly wet coffee, a dry pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Your bloom phase is over.
Completely.
You don't have any more water. It's bone dry. And you say to yourself, how did this happen? How did it happen that even after I had the perfect application of hot water,
hot third wave water
to this bloom, to this coffee
kettle, you still failed?
How is it still dry?
Yeah.
And then you realize, bro, just excavate the daggum stinking slurry.
Just stir it up.
So here's the brew tip of the week.
Try it.
Just try it.
Do it.
Just try it. I've done it exclusively on the Hario V60 because I do the Scott Rail method. No arguments. It's his method. That's what I do. I excavate the slurry. But I don't need to with my flat bottom Kalita Wave 185 or my flat bottom Blue Bottle dripper, right? I don't need to. Yeah. I don't need you, Scott.
It doesn't pass through as quickly, so it seems to saturate.
Got plenty of time.
It gives you a little more grace.
But no, excavate it. Excavate it.
You even do the flat bottoms?
Even the flat bottom. Because I was like, yeah, you don't need to. Manny G agreed with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got the homies in my corner, Scott.
Don't do it.
I've got the homies in my corner.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that you should just
do them all.
Excavate. Yeah. All of it. And so this is what I do.
I've had this thought process.
I put the little water in. Hold on. I'm going to give it to you a second.
I'm listening.
Put the water in. I excavate and then I rinse the spoon off because I don't like the coffee on the spoon. I'm like, what about those grounds?
Yeah. I'm with you.
So that's the brew tip. Excavate, Mikey.
Well, I was just going to say what I do when I excavate, because I also like to stir around the edges in the V60 a little bit.
Right.
Just to make sure that...
You can't do that in the Kalita.
So, yeah, that's the one limitation, right? Because of the ruffled...
I pour around the ruffles.
Yeah.
And I know you're not supposed to pour on the edge, but I pour on the edge because I get all of those. I get all of those grinds into the slurry.
Yeah.
Well, all the coffee into
nothing
the
high and dry.
Nothing high and dry.
So you just kind of, for the flat bottoms that use the ruffle filters, you just focus on excavating, the center mass.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Because the sad reality is, even though you're a pro at your watery delivery system,
yeah,
there's some dry coffee in there.
Exactly.
And you know what? Just make it a habit, because sometimes there's not. Sometimes you did hit it all. Sometimes you nailed it. Sometimes you knocked it out of the park with that water. But there's some times when you didn't.
Well, and I think it has to do with the grind. How the grind's laying, you know, if it's clumped or not clumped, you know, it's just going to create channels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the idea is just get it wet fast.
Excavate it.
The sooner the air bubbles stop, the better.
The better off you are.
So,
yeah. Anyways.
I would agree with you.
So excavate the slurry.
Do
Quit
it.
fighting. Quit fighting it.
Just do it.
Just do it. And speaking of just doing it, you know what we need to do today? I got to get the cards and the stickers done today. Today, I'm going to put, I know you don't like the date out there. I know you don't like to date this, but I'm going to put the date out there of this recording so that you guys can hold us accountable to getting that naturally processed Ethiopian to market. Get the Natty. Let the Natty go. Just do it. I need to get the cards and stickers done today. It's May 15th. May 15th today.
Today.
By June 1st.
Ready to go.
By June 1st. That Natty needs to be up on the store.
I've done a few.
If it's not, there should be some sort of penalty. I should have to send somebody my...
Yeah, if it's not, and you reach out to us, the first 5 people will get a free sample.
A free sample? Or
if it's not,
like one of the little kettles that I bought that I want to keep, that I love. Like, make it hurt. Make it hurt. If it's not up there because I dropped the ball, you get a little kettle.
Well, you can up the ante.
You get a baby kettle.
You can throw your pink slip in on this.
You get a baby kettle. If it's Mike's fault, you get a sample of the Natty.
It's not my fault. I've already done profiling. It's good to go.
Okay, but who's going to do the copywriting and the...
It's already done.
Everything's ready for the... But the item itself listed on the store.
Okay, I'll take responsibility for that if you want.
Yeah, everything else is on me.
Yeah, everything's on you.
Everything else is on me.
So if we fail...
Yes.
So are we saying we're in this together?
We are in this together.
There's no separating.
But if it's because of me, they get a kettle. If it's because of you, they get a sample. June 1st. That's the deadline.
If both fail, you get a sample and a kettle.
Yeah.
But what, they got to be just the first to hit us up?
Yeah.
What are the rules in terms of this?
I don't know. Email that says, you guys said you would have this up by June 1st. It's June 1st. Product's not up. You fail.
Email. Okay.
All right.
It'll be up.
Jacob at orangecactuscoffee.com, Mike at orangecactuscoffee.com.
It'll be up.
All right, perfect. It'll be up. And speaking of being up,
what's up?
What's up with the prices on this Takahiro kettle? How did you come across this Takahiro?
Yeah, so
Takahiro,
right?
I don't even know if I'm saying it.
It sounds good. Say it faster.
Takahiro.
There you go.
But I love it. I found it at Kurasu's website, also at Amazon. We'll put a link in the show notes to the Amazon, though, because...
that's what we do.
It's because that's what we do. That's the easiest way to get something. But how did you come across this kettle that Blue Bottle calls the Rolls Royce of pour-over kettles? How did you come across this Rolls Royce?
I've seen it, but I haven't taken notice of it. And we've been talking about kettles.
We have.
You've been talking about the little kettles.
Little guys.
On Brew and Review 8, iced Mustache Coffee.
Yeah, Mustachio.
Our buddy Nick Carroll left a comment.
Ooh,
and we wanted,
Nick.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Nick.
Thanks for watching and for commenting.
Hey, let's look into this kettle, and I wanted to share it with you. So Nick goes on to say that he believes that the Takahiro.
I don't know. If you know how to pronounce it, please put us out of our misery. Just record an audio clip and then send it to me.
Is he think king of small gooseneck kettles? He says the control you get is absolutely phenomenal, and they're completely worth the price tag. He said he's seen the Monarch kettle, but eventually chose against it as it is not stovetop safe. So functionality.
Here's my problem with the Takahiro.
There's no problem yet because I'm not done. Oh. And he says, thanks for the video. He loved it as always. So I think that's a good point, though.
The stovetop or the...
Yeah. That appeals to me.
But I know why it has never caught your attention.
Why?
Because it's not black.
Oh, because it's stainless steel?
Because it's stainless. It's never caught your attention. You just pass over it. That's why. Because you're constantly looking for something that matches our brand and stays on theme with it. That's why it's escaped your attention.
But it is a nice looking kettle.
So, stovetop, what does that mean? Stovetop safe or stove whatever?
You can put it over a burner.
Yeah.
And you could just light it up.
There's a lot of...
Light it up. Don't worry.
There's a lot of kettles out there that should not be put on burners.
And whether
Like
or not
you're buying that fellow, you're throwing it on a burner, and all that black is just coming straight off. And then you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's not your fault. But listen, you don't want to put these fancy swan neck kettles on the burner.
Unless you want to.
But you're going to destroy them. The majority of them, you will destroy
The
them.
majority, but not this one.
But not the Takahiro
When I think
coffee.
that is indicative of
drip pour over kettle.
Japanese style,
Shizuku.
right? It's got functionality and beauty.
And beauty.
Just throw it in the fire
So
pour the perfect pour.
The 0.9 liter kettle, so the 900 milliliter
What are the prices
kettle,
on...
It says here, the Rolls Royce of coffee kettles. Here's the price on Kurasu's website. It is $9,975.90.
But Nick said it is totally worth...
Nick said it's worth the price. So $9,975.90, it says US dollars.
Nick's dropping 10 grand here.
And then for the 0.5 liter, the Shizuku, it's $14,691.78. But I have it on good authority from Nick that it's worth every penny. I think Kurasu...
15 grand.
Obviously, it's registering dollars instead of yen when it should be yen.
The decimal point is a little off.
The decimal
That's
point,
all.
It's more than a decimal.
No, it's a little off. The decimal point is a little off.
Or maybe, no, because it says 1,620,000 yen. Okay, so the pricing is off because there's no way.
They're right here. So
there's no way that Kurasu is for real $14,691.78. Oh, I see. 146.92
is for the 0.5.
The decimal is off.
Yes,
I see.
Yeah, they have. Well, they have fractions of penny maybe in their system,
and the 99.75.90,
and that one is
the 156.71. That's weird. That's weird because mine says $9,975.
That is weird. The thumbnails on their site seem to be correct.
Yes,
156 and 146.
But Nick says it's worth the price, no matter what you have to pay.
It's got excellent reviews everywhere we looked at it.
Do it.
Just do it.
Just do it, or follow the Amazon links that we have in the show notes.
Yeah, if you got Prime shipping and all that, take advantage of it.
I love Prime shipping.
Plus,
in fact, I got next day Prime shipping today for football gloves.
Why?
Because
football season's over.
For the kids, we have camps. We got
it's not
football
over.
season's never over.
It's just beginning.
Never over. It is never over.
Well, that's true, right?
Yeah.
It's never over for the champs.
So we got the Natty, we got the Takahiro. Somebody's gonna fix our pronunciation and hook us up, and then we mentioned a book that we had referred to, recommended. It's called Dear Coffee Buyer. And I had asked the question on the show. Who's the publisher? As I was sitting there trying to find it. The ever gracious Scott Rayo reached out and said, hey, I'm the publisher. So thank you, Scott. Many, many years. I think he was trying to get this book published and off the ground. And his hard work has been rewarded with an excellent book by Ryan Brown. So it is our pleasure to again recommend it to you and share a little bit with you from the book, because Mike had, he's been spending more time with it. He and the book have been spending lots of quality time together. But he hasn't been making any awkward jokes or awkward humor for the book, right? You haven't told the book that it's getting fat.
No, I can hear. The book's good to go. So there's some good information. I think if you haven't, definitely pick it up. So I want to share a few things that I'll try and pick out quickly here from chapter 13, the chapter on direct trade. Mm-hmm. Ryan has some interesting perspectives on it, being so close to it. So let me just share a few things, if I may. He says, direct trade has come to mean many things because there is no accepted certifying body. Some roasters have hired third-party independent verifiers to provide legitimacy to such a definition, but the industry still has no consensus definition. Originally championed by Stumptown and Intelligentsia, both of who have separate claims on the conception of direct trade. It is described by Stumptown in the FAQ section of its website. Which he quotes them. And then he also talks about Intelligentsia has their own kind of definition. Are
they similar or?
No, they're different. They're different.
How different?
Well, you can go read it.
Oh.
Because there's a lot more I want to share that I think is more valuable.
Okay, so they're really
Point being is that even in the industry, some of the top two differ
on what it means. And where it came from.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Since the advent of direct trade, there's been a lot of hand-wringing over the slippery definition. The root of the hand-wringing is that direct trade is a baloney marketing strategy. Stumptown Intelligentsia and everyone else who initially practiced it did so because it was simply the best way to source great coffees. By building a relationship, you could grow with a producer and secure a seat at the buying table for future harvests. These buyers got access to great stories, beautiful portrait photography of the producers, and other marketing content and material, all of which had value in the competitive wholesale market. You were cutting out the importers, exporters, and any other middleman precisely because it helped ensure that whoever produced the best coffee would sell it to you again.
Nice.
The markability of this direct trade idea is weak.
Is it marka or marketability?
Marketability.
Okay.
Of this direct trade idea is weak, and explanation primarily exists as a resort to, is this fair trade?
So it's puffery.
In an industry with history of paying its suppliers poorly. Direct trade as a marketing label was born out of the perceived injury to buyers of fair trade, an effort that was not entirely misdirected.
So he says fair trade was kind of whack to begin with. So they tried to make it better by calling it direct trade, but it's really not that much better. It's really just fancy language.
Exactly. He doesn't, I'll read a few more things, but he doesn't go on to discredit the whole thing, but there's a lot more to these words
than what you
exactly
are led to believe it means. Yeah, just like everything, right?
He says, perhaps my least favorite part of many definitions of direct trade has been the insistence that it puts both the consumer and the supplier first. Direct trade's legacy is powerful and has created expectations from wholesale customers that roasters will provide such things as direct trade stickers on bags. First, I implore roasters to consider not using the label at all. Rather, consider focusing on the marketing of your coffee on the flavor, marketing of your coffee on the flavor, the producer's story, or anything else. It is evidence of specialty coffee's nascency, what's that word? Nascency, yeah, as well as an exploitative, imperialistic past that so much of the marketing language speaks to the way the coffee was traded. If you insist, one last thing, if you insist on calling your coffee direct trade, I recommend a simple customer-facing definition. Quote, we arrange purchase terms with the person or persons most responsible for producing our coffee, while attempting to minimize the use of middlemen where possible. We compensate additionally with parties who prepare, export, import, and otherwise handle the purchase of coffee. Unquote.
I would recommend leaving it out completely. I agree with Ryan's first kind of conclusion there, that it's not. Focus instead on the flavor profile and the farmer story. Those are the things that when the NCA did their study on what drives buying decisions from consumers, those are the things that drive buying decisions. They want to know what the flavor profile is. They want to know, and I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, how dark or light it was roasted. And that can mean, obviously it means something different to different roasters and different people. And then thirdly, they want to know, was the person, what's the story of the farmer? Was the farmer treated well? You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're trying to get at that last bit with this direct trade or fair trade. They're trying to say that the farmer received fair wages.
Yeah.
And
nobody
the people
took
on the farm
a cut out of the money owed to them or, due to them, right? As the producer. Yeah.
Sure. And I think what does a better job of that is telling the farmer's story, making them human, relatable, where you feel like you're engaging with the farmer when you buy the coffee.
Yeah. I think where he objects a little bit, at least in my interpretation of this chapter, is that where it went too far is when it was realized, hey, we can leverage this just to make more money.
Yeah, marketers ruin everything.
Right.
That's what we do. Marketers ruin everything.
Come in and say, you know what, we're going to exploit the story and what we're doing. Really, it changes the reason why, which is the reason why is the whole reason. But you're no longer doing it for that reason. No. So no longer is...
It's a competitive advantage.
Yeah. And so it becomes this this empty term.
Yeah.
The other thing that he points out here, one last thing.
We destroy everything.
He says that what happens when you attach this direct trade, fair trade to your coffee, and with it comes the expectation of quality? That's great. It should, right? What if the next year's crop from that producer who now you have a relationship with is not as good, and you still throw that sticker on it, and the consumer then tastes it, and they're like, wait a minute, this isn't as good. He says you're also creating a negative or unrealistic maybe perception of quality just because of this little sticker or term. Yeah. And that's not necessarily always going to be the case.
Yeah. I feel the same way about the organic sticker.
Yeah.
I believe I
he
feel
mentions
it's meaningless.
Organic a little bit in that chapter as well. But I thought it was a great chapter, and I thought it was well written, gives his opinion, yet gives you perspective and gives you advice depending on which way you're leaning. Well done, Ryan. Thank you. Appreciate the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate Ryan, and hopefully we can get him on the show in the future. And I want to talk about that here. And I know we've been promising guests for a little while.
Always in the future, Jake.
And I bought a new mixer. I don't want to bog you down and bore you with technical stuff about recording and podcasting.
Okay.
Let's just say it's challenging for me. There are ways to do it, but they're not great. Like we have used this other, was it a conference, Uber conference or something like that. And the feedback that we had from the guests that were there that came on our show previously was that there's a delay and it's kind of weird talking through this Uber conference.
Yes. And you can't all talk.
That's not the only weirdness as well. Mike and I have to share a mic. So we sit close to each other on either side of the microphone. This was before we did the video for those. We sit close to each other. I talk into one side of the mic. He talks into the other side of the mic.
Unless you forget to put the mic on the right setting.
Then I scream into the mic.
You sound like you're across the room.
And I sound like I'm across the room when I'm really like two inches away from him.
Yeah.
So there's ways to record with Skype. There's ways to record with telephones. They all have their kind of pros and cons. And the reason why I'm even bringing it up is this. One, we keep telling people, eventually we'll get you on. Eventually. And I'm not trying to diss you. It's not like we feel that we're the best in the world and we don't want to share the airwaves with anyone. It really is my technical inability to get a good experience for the person that we're interviewing and the people that are listening together. So I'm working on it, but I think what would help me is knowing that you guys want it as well. So if you want interviews, please let me know. Also, if you want something different, like if you want Mike to quit hitting the table and quit hitting his microphone, he keeps bumping everything.
I'm so antsy.
He's fidgety. He's fidgety. That's what he does.
Too much espresso.
It's like I want to take your hands and nail them to the wall behind you.
I want to go run some laps or something. I don't know what.
What would you like to hear on the Orange Cactus Coffee podcast? We've added the Brew and Review. I've added, we've been doing the Daily Ristretto. Today I recorded the 222nd Daily Ristretto, 222.
Congratulations.
Slinging it out there. Are you enjoying it? How can we better serve you through this podcast
please let us know,
and
because I
YouTube
think,
show?
Some of our introspective and retrospective, we've looked back and think, well, the people we want to interview, they've been on other shows several times. And they've been interviewed. Yeah. Can we, is there anything else that they need to say on our show?
Yes.
And I think to your point,
we're better.
Creating the environment so that there's no technical limitations would allow for a better experience.
It helps.
And would just create maybe a more joyful show. And that would be nice. Yeah, and I think that's what would make it different.
I edited a podcast recently, not my own, someone else's. And it was the first 15 minutes was these two guys trying to get the audio to work.
Oh.
And then the audio levels were off. One was too loud. One was too quiet. There's a bunch of pop. It's just really, really poor audio quality.
It kind of kills the vibe.
And it kills the vibe. And it makes the editing so labor intensive. Yeah. There's a lot there. And I think my goal is to get just a regular phone hooked up into the mixer, and then, through a mix minus system where they can hear us, but not themselves. And you hear what it sounds like as somebody on the phone. I think people are accustomed to that. Listening to talk radio or sports radio or whatever, people call in all the time, live onto the air, and we don't dismiss them for it. But with Skype and the digital portion, things cut
It's just
out.
not there yet.
There's a
You
kid
can't talk and
that's
listen.
trying to play Fortnite in the other room, and he's using too much bandwidth, and then your modem starts dropping packets. It could be.
And then they sound like they're underwater, and you have to do the voiceover. Here at this point, he explains the complex nuances of roasting.
Yeah.
And let me go ahead and just describe what he said, because you can't hear it.
'Cause you can't
And then
hear
they
it.
do a voiceover for the next 5 minutes. And then he comes back.
Yeah.
So that's how I tackle that problem.
Oh, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I know what you're saying. But we want to know legitimately.
want?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
what
it's
you want?
something that
What you want?
you want to hear, Jake talk to some of these people.
Yeah. If you want to hear it, let me know. And I'll work a little harder.
He'll figure it out.
Fair plus. More work.
Fair plus.
More
Well, Jake,
better.
we have long been out of coffee on this one. So I think it's time we resolve that and go get some more, which you should as well.
And we sure did go get more coffee. Thank you, Mikey. And thank you for listening to the Orange Cactus Coffee podcast. The show notes at orangecactuscoffee.com/episode 119. How can we better serve you? Please let me know either in the comments on the show notes or Jacob at orangecactuscoffee.com.